Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of United Talks podcast. And today, we're basically going to be doing a tactical breakdown of how Manchester United basically drew to West Ham. The video has been a long time coming, but with the recent controversy with Sir Jim Ratcliffe and all of that, so I had to, kind of move aside a little bit and analyze that before coming to do this one. But yeah, it's been bothering me for a bit as regards to how Man United, basically drew to West Ham. And we have our tactical board out. We're going to analyze everything with regards to that. But, it was 95 minutes and 11. Some quarters say 40 seconds. But if I remember correctly, it's 95 minutes and 11 seconds. That was the exact number that London Stadium fell silent. And Manchester United, away end, basically erupted, basically. And they started singing aloud. Michael Carrick's honeymoon was supposed to end that night. And after 4 straight wins and the tactical, dismantling of Tottenham just a few days ago, I talked about this in the short videos. United looked like they finally hit the claret and white brick wall with Nuno Espirito Santo, who had a perfect plan on how to stifle United's midfield and attack and silence the wings. And for 95 minutes, West Ham were the better side. They looked like the better side. They looked like they were getting that win. They looked like they were going. But it isn't just, the fragile United of 24, probably 2025. This was the Carrick era, basically. Even though some of the things that he implemented now were things that were implemented by his predecessor. But yeah, they were the better side. But United were the least potent side. And I said this in one of our videos where I said the reason why we beat Manchester City was because we were more potent. The same thing happened when we beat Arsenal. Same thing happened when we beat Fulham. And then, obviously, we were more potent in all those 4 games that I mentioned right now, even Tottenham, right? Today, we're going to, kind of go under the hood of the 1-1 draw in East London. And we're breaking down why Carrick chose Matheus Cunha over Benjamin Sesko to start and how West Ham's mid-block nearly broke United's central progression and the precise tactical shift in the final 10 minutes that allowed United to salvage their 9-game unbeaten run. And in this tactical masterclass, there was resilience, basically. But also, is this a warning sign for the Carrick system with regards to it becoming more predictable? So we're going to do a deep dive. We're going to talk about this. We're not going to take your time, but thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. If you haven't already, please do like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't have to miss anything as it relates to Manchester United. Now, we're going to start with the starting blueprint. And I'm pretty much going to tell you that basically the starting blueprint was a 4-2-3-1 or what you call a 4-2-2-2. We're going to look at, the sheet. Now, just to give you a bit of an idea of what happens. Carrick stuck with his personnel in the 4-2-3-1. Just to tell you, actually, the lineup for that day. And then for the lineup, Michael Carrick started with a 4-2-3-1 where he had, on paper, as you all know, we talk about this, where he had Luke Shaw, Martinez, Maguire, and Dalot as the back 4 with Senna Lommens in goal. And then you have Casemiro and Menu, an unchanged starting lineup from the Spurs game. And then you also have Bruno Fernandes and Ahmad. Mbumo playing more as the left winger than the attacker. And then, obviously, Matheus Cunha was the striker. Now, when you look at that formation and you look at what the plan was, it gives you a sense of an idea of what Michael Carrick was trying to achieve with that. And I can tell you this for a fact that was what. Now we're going to try and show you the game with regards to how it appeared on FotMob with the lineup. So just give me one quick second and I'll show you here. Now on FotMob, it was showing, just give me a quick sec. You're going to use FotMob as a reference to show you so on FotMob, this is how the lineup showed, basically. The lineup showed the 4-2-3-1, as you can see on the screen. And you had you had Senna Lommens in net, so you had Senna Lommens in net. you had Luke Shaw, you had Luke. Yeah, sorry, one quick sec. You had Maguire, you had Licha Martinez, you had Maguire, you had Licha Martinez, you had Shaw, you had Dalot, and all of that. So don't need to recount that. And then basically on paper, that is what was appearing. But on the field of play, a lot of movements were happening, a lot of things were changing, and all of that. You could also at some point see the 4-2-2-2, which I'm going to show you now on the screen. And then obviously, before we go to the 4-2-2-2, I'll tell you how West Ham lined up. They lined up with a 4-2-3-1. 4-2-3-1 was typically the same thing as Manchester United. But then, obviously, with theirs, you had a situation where their two was either Soucek or Soucek. Just give me one quick sec. Their two was either Soucek or the three. Actually, the two was either Soucek and Fernandes or Potts and Soucek. But Fernandes was more of Matheus Fernandes was more of a central midfielder. So just to give you a look as to what the screen, this is the West Ham team in blue, and this is the United team. So focus on the red, leave the blue. So they lined up in a 4-1-2-3-4-2-3-1. So basically, they lined up in a 4-2-3-1. That is the West Ham lineup, right? Then Man United lined up in a 4-2-3-1, right? But then we can still look at it as a 4-2-2-2 where Bruno went this way to kind of create a double striker. Then so Bruno moved this way, right? And then it became a 4-2-2-2. This is the 2. So this is the 4. You have Dalot, Maguire, Licha Martinez, Shaw, and then you also have Casemiro, Kobe Menu, and then you have Ahmad. He was going between here and here, and you have Mbumo was going between in and out as an inside forward, and then you also had Bruno Fernandes was pushing up to the 2 with Cunha. At some point, you see Cunha drop and you see Bruno press really well, and it looks like a 4-2-3-1 again. And then also, because of Michael Carrick and the way he lines up asymmetrically, he pushed Shaw up, and we had something like this. And you would notice that most of the times, Licha Martinez was trying to thread passes this way, trying to switch balls this way, playing it long this way, and all of that. These were the passing lanes for Licha Martinez. You could see that he was trying to make those, and most of his passes you will see were this way, like in between the lines. So because you see Mbumo switch this way, he's receiving those balls. You see Luke Shaw going this way. So when Mbumo receives the ball, Mbumo finds Luke Shaw in this area, right? Or finds him in this way, and then there's Bruno, who also comes this way to receive the ball while Mbumo goes up, and then Cunha comes this way. So it felt like a lopsided 3-2-5 in attack, with Ahmad, attacking Malik Diouf on the side, more the widest, right? So these were the things that we noticed in all of the things, right, in the game. So like I said, on paper it looked like a 4-2-3-1, but then it was a 3-2-5. Like I said, focus on the red dots, right? And then it also looked like a 4-2-2-2. Now Carrick stuck with the personnel that beat Spurs, but the functions were entirely different. That's pretty much what I've been trying to tell you here. The formation, like I said, lined up in a nominal 4-2-3-1, but in possession it transformed into a fluid 2-4-4. So this was another thing that we noticed in this one, where we had a situation where the fullbacks, okay, this is Licha, this is Dalot. Apart from the asymmetric, this is Dalot, this is Shaw, and then we had this, right? So it looked like a 2-4-4, where we're trying to, because if you look at the blue dots, Fulham, I keep saying Fulham, West Ham were trying to clog the spaces and come really closer to each other in what you call a mid to low block. So they were clogging the spaces, choking things out, not letting us get to the defense and all that. So you can see the 2-4-4 situation here, where 2-4-4, right? That was what was pretty much evident, right? Then the double pivot of Casemiro and Casemiro and Kobe Menu, as you can see in here. And then you also had the Luke Shaw and Diogo Dalot here, inverted as fullbacks at different points in the game. The false nine gamble was also with Matheus Cunha, which was the big talking point for everybody. That Matheus Cunha, who was basically, as you can see here, this is Matheus Cunha. Matheus Cunha starting over the red hot Benjamin Sesko. Carrick's logic was clear. West Ham play a very narrow, compact defense line, and he didn't want a stationary target man for Axel Disasi to bully. He wanted Cunha to drop into the D, so he actually wanted Cunha to kind of go this way, like, you know what I mean. So he wanted Cunha to kind of drop into the D, press them, come back here, move this way, and all of that. That was where he wanted Cunha to be, and then drag the Hamas. So, for example, if Cunha comes in this way, the midfield has pushed up a little bit, right? The midfield for West Ham has pushed up a little bit. Then you also, because this was Jared Bowen, this was Somerville, this was Fernandes, this was Soucek, and this was Potts. So they also at some point moved to a 4-3-3. And then when Cunha drops in, Potts follows, and sometimes Disasi follows. And that leaves Bruno into space, leaves Mbumo into space, leaves Ahmad into space, even though Malik Diouf was following him, like that, case may be. And then obviously he didn't want a stationary forward. He wanted Cunha to drag the center half out of position, and Alaba and Buma and Ahmad to exploit the spaces behind. In the first 20 minutes, it worked. United dictated the pace, circulating the ball with a 68% ball possession share. But here is the problem, or here was the problem. West Ham didn't bite. West Ham stayed deep. Like I said, they stayed clogged together, closer, no space to move and everything. Disasi dropped back, and then they just kind of stayed really clogged together, right? So we tried to break them, and we're just playing side-to-side passing, right? And then United's West Ham stayed deep, denied the space, and forced United into U-shaped passing, as you can see. So with Dalot kind of dropping a little bit to form that three that I told you guys about, you had Casemiro and Luke Shaw, Casemiro and Menu here, Luke Shaw. At some point, you even had Casemiro going up to add to the numbers, right? And then, you have your Cunha here, you have your Bruno here trying to dictate play. And then you can see how clogged up it is. No space, right? No space at all, right? So basically, that was the challenge that we saw in the game and all of that, right? So Amad Diallo and Mbumo were trying to exploit the spaces, but it wasn't to be. In the first 20 minutes, it worked. Like I said, they stayed deep, they denied the space, and restricted United to passes around this area, if you can see what I'm showing you. Then eventually it was now passing just within, like you could see side-to-side passing and all of that, which was a problem for the team. Then you also had, especially with around the block and obviously with the 1-2s and everything, trying to make a quick counter or quick transition. And then obviously the second part was the West Ham trap, closing the central corridor. Nuno Espirito Santo was the chief of that, trying to make sure that was the case in this one. He's a student of the game, and he knew Carrick's Middlesbrough blueprint relies on central progression. That's my issue with Michael Carrick here. Michael Carrick did not change did not do, like I said before, he did not do his assignment on West Ham properly to know that they had visible weaknesses. So the stifling plan for Nuno Espirito Santo was to set up West Ham in a 5-4-1 mid block. So we're going to show you another aspect of West Ham's setup here on the board, where we had the 1, you had the 4, and then you had Somerville dropping deep as well. So no, actually, Jared Bowen was the one dropping deep. So you had Wan-Bissaka here, you had Jared Bowen here, and then it wasn't as evident as we could all see, but that was what was evident. So as we could all see, but you can see it's a 5-4-1 here, with Somerville here trying to look for that counter space into this space, right? And then you had your this was Fernandes and this was Soucek. At some point, Fernandes and Soucek were switching. And then obviously they allowed Casemiro and Menu to have the ball, which you can see in this shape with Casemiro and Menu here. Have the ball, and but the second ball moved toward Bruno Fernandes or Cunha. So this is Bruno waiting for those extra passes with Ahmad coming down the line and Bumo coming here. So it was like that. And basically when the second ball moved toward Bruno and Cunha, the trap was snapshot. Basically, immediately that happened, you see that the defenders will push up, or you have Potts drop back with Soucek dropping back like that. So this is what you have, a very choked up, as you can see, it's very rowdy and choked up, right? And you will see many pictures of the game and all of that. Didn't take screenshots, but I remember clearly that it was choked up like this at some point, right? And then you have your backs. I mean, they are pushing up and high the line like this. The stadium was, the field was really choked up, and that's why most people put out that narrative that the field was small. It was because West Ham narrowed the spaces, right? West Ham narrowed the spaces. That's why it looked like the field was small. Now, like I said, the trap was cut short when the ball came to. I'm just going to use the ball here. When the ball came to Cunha, and when the ball moved from Kobe Menu to Casemiro, and then to Licha, who now passed the ball to Bruno Fernandes, and then obviously by the time he got here, they snuffed him out, right? Mavropanos, and Potts would snuff him out, or Soucek and all of that. Now, usually Bruno averages 4 key passes. That was the stats for the struggle. He averages 4 key passes per game under Carrick, and in the first half he had 0 key passes. Now, with regards to accuracy, United were at 88%, but most of those were safe passes. 88% pass accuracy, rather. 88%, but that was mostly passes between the centre backs and the pivot, as you can see. That's why Licha Martinez had 100 passes the entire game. West Ham's wingers, Bowen and Somerville, were instructed to tuck inside, as you can see here, right? They were instructed to tuck inside. This is Somerville, this is Bowen. Tuck inside to create overloads as well. Drop in here. See, so it's just so rowdy, right? So they were instructed to tuck inside and basically create overloads, right? Now, and that meant that United had to resort to short passing triangles, which is the hallmark of the last 4 games. And these were constantly being intercepted. Like, they had a lot of interceptions. United were playing into the most congested part of the pitch, and by the 40th minute, the frustration was very visible, right? As you can see, it's so rowdy. This is kind of like from the first half, right? So it was pretty much very rowdy and all of that. Then you look at the phase of play, the Soucek surge, and the defensive transition, which is the next aspect. The game then came the 50th minute, where the moment that the unbeaten run nearly collapsed, and basically the breakdown of that was basically that United pushed too many bodies forward, and by the time they had pushed too many bodies forward, it now led to the point where in Carrick's search for central combinations, both Dalot and Shaw were positioned in the half spaces, right? As I've shown you in different boards and everything. Position in half spaces, but when the ball was lost in the midfield, West Ham broke with lightning speed, and that left somewhere like, let's say just to give you a bit of a view of what we're doing here on the board. You had Licha here, who was running back. You had Maguire too. You had Dalot, who was just still recovering. And you had your Shaw, who was here. Shaw and Jarrett Bowen together. And the ball was crossed from when Ahmad was trying to press on Malik Diouf. The ball was here. And Malik Diouf played a long ball to Soucek. Soucek was here. This is... Who was a striker at the point? Oh, it was Tati. Tati was a striker, number 9. And then Somerville was here. And then you had Malik Diouf played this ball from here down here. No, rather, he played this ball, just to give you a bit, he played this ball from here down here. And Soucek headed the ball down to here. And Luke Shaw misjudged the bounce. So the ball goes from here to here. And then misjudged the bounce. Luke Shaw misjudged the bounce. And Jarrett Bowen carried the ball this way. And then Licha Martinez was here. Maguire was here. Instead of Licha to press here, Licha stopped. Luke Shaw chased down really late into the box. Dalot was here. Somerville was here. And then you have Tati here. And then you have, because this guy touched the ball late, he was running late into the box. And then you have you had Casemiro and Kobe Menu. So he first ran past Casemiro and then ran past Kobe Menu. And obviously, as he ran this way, this guy was with the ball and he squared the ball this way. And then this guy just tapped in, ran past Menu, Casemiro first, Menu second, and then just tapped in the ball into the net. That's pretty much straightforward as to what happened. The gap between the defensive line and the midfield pivot was too wide. As you can see in this board as well, in the running back and everything in between, the gap was too wide and all that. And basically, within a split second, decision to stay. So now, just to kind of give you, when the ball was lost in the midfield, West Ham broke in with lightning speed, and Jarrett Bowen, who has been the thorn in United's flesh for years, found space on the right. Luke Shaw was caught in a split second stay with Bowen or cover with the middle. So basically, as he had lost the bounce of the ball and it fell onto, I think, Soucek. So he lost the bounce of the ball. It fell to Soucek. Soucek actually passed the ball. So he was trying to slide Soucek and he hesitated basically. He lost the tackle, and Bowen's low cross was perfect, and Thomas Soucek just did what he does best, timed a late run in the box as I just described now, and to tap home. Then the tactical fault in this was that the gap between the defensive line and the midfield line was too wide, and that's why, like I said when I was showing you in the board, the Kobe Menu and Casemiro were running in late. Obviously, it was too wide, leaving leaving the zone 14 wide open, and it was a classic Amorim era mistake that Carrick had supposedly fixed, but West Ham didn't just score, they exposed United's over eagerness. I saw this against Fulham and I said, I don't want this to happen against Tottenham. It didn't happen because even Tottenham were a man down, so we didn't get to see whether it's going to happen again or not. But then I'm seeing this again against West Ham, right? So basically, with regards to the pivot, right? With regards to the pivot, the chaos versus the structure, Carrick's reaction to this was evident. Like, everybody could see what he was planning to do, right? Everybody see what Carrick was planning to do, right? So just to give you a bit of an idea of what was going on, Carrick's reaction was evident for us to see. It was the defining moment for everybody. Was the defining moment of the match, and this was in the 69th minute. He made a call. He took off Cunha and got Sesko on, right? And the reason I say this is because he got Sesko on, and he took off Cunha, got Sesko on, and shortly after, Zexi joined the fray. The tactical shift saw that United abandoned the false nine experiment and went with heavy metal, right? Sesko as the pivot, he became the focal point. Instead of dropping deep, he stayed between the center backs, physically pinning them. And then Euro highline. Now, we're going to talk about Euro because Euro was very instrumental in us getting that win. he was very, very instrumental. And I say this to say that basically, when we look at the lineup, just to give you, I'm just trying to set it up again here. Euro was very instrumental in us getting that win. Yeah, Euro was very, 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 very instrumental, right? And I could explain it to you in multiple ways as to how Michael Carrick deployed that. So when Michael Carrick took off Cunha, we had this basically. We had this lineup, this sort of lineup, with Dalot still in the lineup. I think is Dalot still in the lineup? Just to look at let's quickly look at the subs here, so we're not judging, because I remember what happened on the day, right? Dalot was Dalot still in the lineup? Okay, so the subs, just to give you a sense of an idea of what happened. The subs, he took off. Yeah, he took off Dalot in the 89th minute for 82nd minute for Joshua Zirkzee. So that was much later. All right. So when he took off Dalot, what did that mean? It meant that Ahmad was going to, or Cunha or Mbeumo was going to drop. So, but then before that, he brought on Lenny Yoro for Harry Maguire, and that was where the seismic shift happened, right? Lenny Yoro for Harry Maguire, you know, the high line bringing Euro for Maguire was kind of like the master stroke, and I was surprised. You know, if it were to be in the past regime, they would blame Amorim for bringing on one more defender when you could have brought on an attacker. But Euro's recovery speed allowed United to push their defensive line almost at halfway circle, as you know, we could have seen multiple times. And then obviously to create the overlap, Mbeumo moved wider. And he stopped trying to cut inside and instead started hitting early crosses to exploit Sesko's frame. So let's do it this way. So basically, Dalot was subbed for Mbeumo, was subbed for Sesko. No, Dalot was subbed for Zirkzee. So this is Zirkzee now, and then you have your Ahmad, Zirkzee coming, Zirkzee and Bruno, and then you have your Ahmad. This Dalot now is your new Mbeumo, right? Your Cunha is off already, so Cunha is off, and this has become Sesko. And you had this. This was kind of like what we saw on the day, like 3-4-3 or 3-4-2-1, right? With your new Euro. This was your Euro, Licha, or let's switch it this way. So this was Licha number 4, Euro number 5, and Shaw. And then yeah, that was what happened. And Shaw played the full 90 minutes, surprisingly. Shaw was part of the centre backs. And then at some point, he became Mbeumo moved wider. Like I said, this became Mbeumo at some point, and then Ahmad was on the right, on the left. This became Mbeumo, and you had your this thing. And then I think Casemiro at some point moved up a little bit to create that overload, because that was where Menu created this chance for him to go and score. And then when Menu created this chance, that was called offside and all of that. Now, then obviously Ahmad, like I said, Ahmad was here. Luke Shaw also pushed up. Then you had this. That's the one thing I also noticed in the game. You had this. So that Ahmad here, this guy here, this is Zirkzee here, this is Bruno here, this is Sesko. This is, oh, I just moved. This is Bruno. This is Casemiro. Casemiro was also up here. So this is what you kind of had, right? Just to give you a sense. Yeah, this is what you had. This is your new Mbeumo number 2. So yeah, this was kind of what you had against that West Ham side. Right now, to talk about the equalizer in the 90+6 minute, the goal was as a result of his sheer persistence. Mbeumo delivered from the right, his 7th cross of the half, and Sesko using his tactical frame. So Mbeumo had the ball. I think the ball switched from here. Excuse me. The ball switched from here. The ball switched from here to here. I think from Ahmad to Bruno, and I think to Mbeumo, and then everybody pushed up, and then you had your Mbeumo. You know, he came here with the ball, dropped his shoulder and crossed like this, and Sesko just moved this side and hit the ball. into the net. The goal was a result of that persistence, right? Mbumo delivered the right, his delivered from the right, his seventh cross. Sesko was using his physical dominance as well, got a yard ahead of Axel Disasi and flicked the ball home. And it wasn't just pretty football, it was a Sesko classic. It was effective football that we just saw, just to kind of, clear out the result and everything. There were times when West Ham could have gone ahead of us or scored and everything. We clearly saw where, I'm just going to show you a video of, or not show you, but we clearly saw, I'll show you that video. Just give me a quick sec. So just to give you a hint of an idea of what I meant by, this was like the time when it felt like, so this was so in the 48th minute before that goal happened, this is courtesy of Center of Goals on X, this was what we saw. You had Licha on this side, right? This was your Licha, this was your Shaw, right? Not clear, but just to give you a sense of an idea, when they were countering against us, do you see this space on this side? This space? This space. That is where we're lacking. Guess who? This is Casemiro, Menu, this is Casemiro, and this is Menu right behind him, right beside him, right? This is your Dalot, this is your Maguire. Just give it, this is Dalot, and this is Maguire, right? So just to give, this is Maguire, this is Dalot, and then just to give you a sense of what I meant, this was in the 48th minute in the first half when we were trying to stifle them, or in the second half, I believe. Now, when we go to the part where in the 90th minute before, just to give you a bit of an idea before we wrap it up, the 90th minute before the goal, we had this situation where players were running back. Look at this. They won the ball, and guess who's chasing? See, this was when it would have been 2-1. But look at Mbumo. He was playing as right wing back. See that? Look at who was chasing him. Traore, right? You see it again. You look at Mbumo. You look at who was chasing him. And you just look at that. You see the space? See that space I told you about? Who is this? This is Menu, jogging back, right? This is Licha, right? This is Bruno right behind him. This is Bruno on this side. This is Menu in the middle. This is Licha. Menu. Bruno on your side, on this side. Licha Martinez on this side. Who else is chasing back? This is Mbumo, right? And him was in a 100-meter foot race with Traore, right? So, yeah, basically, like, it's there for everyone to see. And we could go on and on talking about it and how Man United could have taken advantage and everything. Look at the two people there. That's Euro and Ahmad. Euro, Ahmad, and Luke Shaw. So it's there for all to see. Like, it's not like there's anything hidden. You know, basically, why we almost even considered that one, because we're still out of shape and we're too excited to press up. But I'm not going to blame anybody, because that frustration was caused by us in the first half. That's what the issue is, right? Yeah. Now, my final take on the reign of and my question is: this reign sustainable? That's the question. What did we learn? We talked about the takeaways from the video, from the game in another video. Now, United showed that they have a plan B when the intricate central passing is blocked and you can turn to the big man with an early cross. But this is a sign of a team that can compete for the title with the right players and with the right amount of players and the right number of players. And basically, the first 60 minutes was a warning, right? If teams realize they can suffocate Carrick's midfield, United need to find a way to unlock faster. That's what we noticed. Another thing is, I want to hear from you guys. Was Carrick right to start Cunha over Sesko? I just want to know. I'm gonna put a poll in the communities, the Facebook and the YouTube community, because I put a poll last night talking about, just to do a quick refresh here, I did a poll last night talking about what were the thoughts, what were your thoughts on the game. I was asking that question, and I said, was Sesko world class, or Euro, saved us at the end, or we should have started Xerxes over Cunha? And I got an overwhelming 63% from all of you, with 197 votes in total. 63% said Sesko was world class on the day. Then Euro 32%, and Xerxes was 5%. So most people did not really buy the idea of Xerxes, being needed in the game, even though he missed a chance because of the crosses that were put in. Then we look at the other poll I put on, the same poll I put on the Facebook group. You had almost 100. Let me see. Yeah, almost 100% said Sesko is world class with regards to his performance on the day. But I want you guys to tell me in the comment section before I put the poll out there. Was Carrick right to start Cunha over Sesko? And does the 1-1 draw feel like a point gain or 2 points lost in the race to the Champions League? Is this what it is? And honestly, with the rumors of the new manager, I mean, we've heard about this guy signing a new contract. Is an unbeaten run enough, or does Carrick need to show more, more tactical plan A dominance in these away games? Is it that does Carrick need to continue to have his unbeaten run, or he just needs to show more tactical dominance to be able to win games? Let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section. Hit the like button, hit the comment section, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so you don't have to miss anything as relates to Manchester United. We try as much as possible to give you tactical breakdowns, kind of break down, every aspect of the game, as you can see, and as is evidenced in what we've shown to you. Just let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, goodbye, and God bless.